We have another story of a black person being murdered by the police. Now, this one is really despicable. We have a sister by the name of Charleena Lyles, 30 years old, pregnant woman, I may add. She called the police because of a burglary. And after she called the police, when they came out to her home, instead of them going after a burglar, she ended up losing her life, being shot 2 times by these Seattle cops.
And then my cousin called and told me it's my sister.
We watched the raw emotion of a family getting terrible news, the fatal shooting of a 30-year-old mother. Her family says she had mental health issues, but they insist Charleena Lyles was no threat.
What is she gonna do to all you police? You big ass men. I can take her down. I know you can.
Seattle police say they got a burglary call from Lyles. They sent 2 officers because they knew Lyles and were concerned for the officer's safety. They arrived at Brettler Family Place 3 and went up to the 4th floor. They say Lyles confronted them with a knife.
Both officers had to fire their service weapons, striking the individual. Unfortunately, it is a fatality.
This neighbor told us he awoke to the sound of gunfire.
A couple of the shots, yeah. I just rolled over in the bed and had a duck, making sure that if something did come through, it didn't get me.
Police said several children were in her apartment when Lyles was shot. The news hit her family hard.
There's no reason for her to be shot in front of her babies.
So this is the issue that we have in America as black people. You see, these police aren't there to serve and protect black people. They're there to handle black people. They're there to obviously just kill us no matter what we do or what we have going on. You saw Philando Castile. He was the perfect guy. And yet look what they did to him, and that cop got off. Now, if that cop got off with Philando Castile, you don't think these 2 cops who are Caucasian that shot that sister, you think they're not going to get off? This sister called because of a burglary. This sister had children. So, of course, she going to have a knife in her hand because she was protecting her children. She didn't go lunge and attack them in the process. But it doesn't matter about anything. You have Caucasians walking around cops with AR-15s and all kind of weapons, and the cops just relax, don't say nothing. But then a black person that's calling you because they were burglarized, you run up in there, and then you kill that sister in front of her children. Her 10-year-old had talked about how they shot her mother down. These Caucasian police have no regard for black life. They just really don't. And that's why I said on Twitter, black people, when you gonna realize that they just hate you? When you gonna realize that? Some of you cape for these people, but they don't like you like that. Now, I'm not saying all of them, but unfortunately, those who don't hate you aren't the majority. That's the problem that we're dealing with. And then those who don't hate you, that's the minority. I don't want to see you in Black Lives Matter t-shirts. I don't want to tell you telling me that it's racism and it's horrible. No, what are you going to do about it? That's my thing. You can do more than I can do in this society. You have Caucasian privilege. Use it to change laws and make sure people go to jail, go on the jury, and help us that way if you want to do something. But don't just tell us it's horrible and you feel bad about it and nothing's going to happen. Because you're just as complicit as the other ones if you don't do anything to make a change and make a difference. But the Seattle Police Department was investigated by the Department of Justice in 2011, and they had a report come out. And I want to point out 2 things in that report that's related to this case. A report about their use of force. Now, if you scroll down and we want to look at this 3rd little bullet point right here. SPD officers escalate situations and use unnecessary or excessive force when arresting individuals for minor offenses. This trend is pronounced in encounters with persons with mental illness or those under the influence of alcohol or drugs. This is problematic because SPD estimates that 70% of the use of force encounters involve these populations. Now, second point that we need to look up. Multiple SPD officers at a time use unnecessary or excessive force together against a single subject or the excessive use of force incidents, we identified 61% of the cases involved more than one officer. That's our situation right here. We have a woman that have a documented mental illness. We look at the DOJ report that stated, as you saw, more than 70% of the police brutality, excessive force, unnecessary force that they're using are on people like this sister in the video. Other point we just covered, 61% of the police brutality happened with more than one cop, and it's the same situation. One more point that we need to point out as well about the Seattle Police Department that came out in the Department of Justice report. Now, they talked about excessive force. Of the cases that we determined to be unnecessary excessive uses of force, over 50% involve minorities. Now, you need to know the demographics of Seattle, Washington to get why that is a problem. 69.5% of Seattle, Washington is white. Black 7.9%, American Indian 0.8%, Asian 13.8%, Native Hawaiian 0.4%, other race 2.4%, then they have two or more races 5.1%, Hispanic 6.6%. Now they say persons of color all in one. I hate that term. 33.7%. But yet more than 50% of the excessive force is against other groups of people outside of white, when yet 70%, almost 70% of white folks are in Seattle, Washington. Do you see the problem here? They're still practicing what the DOJ pointed out that they were doing back in 2011 and 2012. They always use an excessive force against people with mental health issues when it's more than one of them, and it's another black person that they killed. Now, this is the things that I was saying earlier. I had some short back and forth with Jamila Lemieux on Twitter. And I said this, and I said she gonna be my new person I'm gonna start talking about when they're talking about these black feminists. Sister Jamila Lemieux, and I put people, go send her this message. What is the black feminist is gonna do about this one? Because this is a fellow black woman dying at the hands of these race soldiers, and it's always a Caucasian male. Y'all was rallying up about Bill Cosby. Why don't we rally up about these sisters getting killed by these Caucasian male police? Let's talk about that. Or even if they female, doesn't matter. Where's your Caucasian feminist that's going to come assist you as black women with this issue? We got to start calling out these black feminists now, because it's ridiculous. You joining with a group of women that's not even benefiting you. The second thing we need to point out is this. We need to stop dividing on stupidity within our own group. Did them race soldiers go ask her about colorism? No, they did not. Did they ask about religion or anything? In this system that we live, this Caucasian supremacist system, it's okay to kill you black people, and they showing you every day when they let them go. And you think it's a game. You think it's a joke. It's not. These people don't have no regard for your life. And don't tell me anything, because I look at the actions. Don't tell me no words. Show me through actions that you don't feel that way. But you see this stuff happening each and every week in this country. People have gotten to the point where they say that they used of it already. Do you realize how horrible that is to say that you're used to watching people get killed unjustly? Do you know how horrible it is to say you're numb to it? Do you know how horrible it is for you to say, I expect a murdering cop to get off? I just expect it. If you're expecting those things, then America is a third world country at this point. Donald Trump the other day went and said about Cuba harms its people. But yet, why is it America don't talk about when you're killing your own people, like Charleena, Lyles, and many others? No one charges you up for human rights violations, do they? You have a pointing your finger and your thumb at everybody all over the world, saying what they doing to their people. Muammar Gaddafi doing this to his people. Saddam Hussein doing this to his people. But yet you mowing down black people and other people every single day. killing your own citizens, having laws that lock up people due to color, because everything in this country is dealt on the guise of color. The way I look at it, it shouldn't be no Caucasian cops even interacting with black people, because they already have a fear of black people. That one book that talks about that, with this Caucasian police officer wrote that the darker you are, the more they fear you. The bigger they are, the more they fear you. They fear your melanin. So why in the world are you walking around me for? Oh, but I'm sorry. I was scared of my life. I'm scared. I never heard grown men in my life say they're scared for everything. Most men don't want to be looked at as someone who's scary. Most men want to be looked at as courageous, not fearful. But yet you hired a bunch of fearful people to deal with people that you're afraid of, who don't really have any control of anything, who don't have all the guns, all the money, whatever. But that's y'all BS excuse to get out of it. The media, and let me talk about the media. The only thing I agree with Donald Trump about, and he's 100% right, the media is the enemy of the people. I believe that. I agree with Donald Trump on that point. These people are evil. This woman hasn't even been put in the ground, and they said up there, well, she got this criminal record and she went to jail. What the hell that got to do with that? What happened to that woman? Nothing. But yeah, but what you already doing is you demonizing her in the media, because you're tainting the potential Caucasian jury, because shoot, it's definitely be Caucasian over there. The Caucasian jury, you setting up the rig for that cops to get off. That's why they do that, because they understand the inherent bias that a lot of Caucasians have toward black people. So let me go ahead on and put that in their minds already, that she had a criminal record. She had mental health issues. Oh, they can be like, oh, well, I can believe why the cops maybe protected themselves. I mean, I don't think they would just go kill anybody, because a lot of them are delusional. They don't live the life that we live. They don't walk in this skin. So they would never believe that a police officer would just do something like that. It's amazing how that black officers just don't be shooting people down like that. Do you ever see that? I don't ever see a bunch of black officers shooting down a bunch of white women with kids. I just seen a video, and I need to do that video actually. A black state trooper was stopping a Neanderthal, went to arrest him, fighting with him. Another Neanderthal stopped his car and went to help the other Neanderthal try to beat down the black state trooper, and you didn't hear nothing about this till somebody else tried to help the state trooper. It was a crazy video. Somebody just shared it with me. It happened back in March. But even in that moment, that brother should have pulled out his gun and shot his behind, because he had two of them on him and he still didn't do it. But it'd be a Caucasian, you flinch and they shooting your behind and say, oh, I was scared of my life. But it's like the black officers don't be doing all that killing of a bunch of white folks, do they? No, they don't, because it'd be plastered all over the news. So you mean to tell me black officers have more restraint and black officers don't do a lot of excessive force to Caucasians? Because they know better. Because I've had black officers tell me, we can't do what them white officers do. And they act themselves accordingly. But the Caucasian cops know there's no restraint, because this society is going to support them and let them off. Shoot, y'all give them big GoFundMes and everything. You give them severance packages when they want to leave the police force after killing black people. That's where we at. And my thing is this: everything don't last forever. This is why your society falling apart. This is why. This is why the world every day is growing a disdain for you. This is why. Because you think that you are God enough to say who's justified to live or die. I can go down the laundry list why you being dealt with right now by God, really. But it's not the video for that. What I'm saying is, black people, you need to unify. Look what these folks are doing. Stop calling them police for everything. I know it's sad to say that. We have to practice our Second Amendment rights. We can't depend on them. I'd rather take my chance with a criminal. Well, what's the point of calling them? Calling them so they can come to my house and kill me? And then now my kids don't have me no more? Or they don't have you no more? Think about this. This is why in the black community we say, man, call no cops. For what? For what? Now they're killing you now. And this is not the first time this has happened to somebody. I mean, is that real? See, Caucasians, they got the luxury of calling the police and feeling safe and oh, you know, they just such great people. Well, us, we worry about getting killed. for calling them to come to our house when we being victimized of a crime. But yet they take our tax dollars and pay their salaries. They treat Caucasians one way, and then they treat the rest of us another way. And that's the ungodliness and immoral things that happen in America. Then these same people act like they got a moral high ground to tell anybody else anything. Please. But let's see what these feminists is going to do for this black sister. I'm talking about the black feminists as well. I want to see about that because this is against women. So I want to see that. And let's see what's happening with this story, because this is something that's just really, we all should be outraged about. They killing pregnant women in front of children. I mean, think about that. They taking this stuff back to freaking slavery times. That's the kind of killing you during slavery. They trying to get black people to be really afraid of them, because since their birth rate is low, they're dying out. They're trying to make sure they keep their control over you, even though they're going to be in a minority eventually. See, I already know the game, what they're playing. Black people, you need to stick together. I'm telling you this. Unify, unify, unify. And other groups of people, they don't like you either. So I think you should pay attention to that as well. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the story. Share the video, like the commentary, and subscribe to more news stories.